Back over to you, Chuck. John sent us an email. He listens to our show all the time, and he's asking a specific question of you, Mr. Crosby. What is the closing process at your office, and what should he expect on the day he closes a loan with the bank and you and buys his first home?
Okay. The process is pretty easy. He'll bring ID and a cashier's check. Anything else that his lender has told him to bring, sometimes two IDs, that kind of thing. When they show up, first thing I always do is greet everybody. You're being welcomed into my office, my home. We act like that. So you sit down, everybody's comfortable. Then I get IDs, copy them, and then we go over numbers. In a closing, there are roughly three things that actually really do something. The numbers are the very most important, the thing everybody's concerned about. So we go over those and we don't move until you're comfortable with them. If it's your first home and you're not exactly sure why this number is there, well, we give you the opportunity to ask. And it's not going to be like in some places I've heard about where, hey, it's just a bank fee, don't worry about it. No, we can talk about what every little thing is. And until you're satisfied with the numbers, you don't hand me a penny. Of course, now once you've handed me the penny, then we go over the terms of the loan pretty quickly. And then there's probably about 70 pages of CYA documents that you go over. Try and do everything in a smooth fashion so it goes from one thing to the next and makes sense. It's not, oh, hey, let's talk about the numbers here, and then let's talk about your ID. Then let's talk about the monthly payment. Then let's talk about the IRS. Everything kind of goes in a consecutive fashion that makes sense. Typically, you don't leave my table until you've understood everything. What I don't want is for you to get to the red light out at the intersection of Hurstburn and Bunsen and have a question. But if you do, you can always call me. I always treat it, this is the biggest purchase you're going to make. It's one of the biggest investments you possibly could make. You're going to know everything about it, or at least as much as you want to know about it before you even hand me the check.
And we always love about Chuck that it's always a friendly, funny kind of atmosphere, so things move rather smoothly. Chuck throwing
I've been to adversarial closings, and nothing gets accomplished that way. Yeah. There's no reason to be adversarial. Typically, there are times, but those are fairly rare. And if we run into something like that, chances are I'm not going to put the buyers and sellers together. Nasty divorces, things like that. You try and minimize any kind of conflict. You want to know the numbers. You want to know the terms. You want to make sure it's the right property. Everything after that is, CYA.
Hopefully, Jessica, that answers. And you'll always remember your first closing. Greg, do you remember your first closing on the first house that you purchased?
I do.
Is that how long ago was that? Was it maybe 10 years ago? Maybe
about 10 years ago. It was about 10 years ago. It was all cash and it was smooth. I don't remember where it closed. I'm assuming it was at Chuck's because I remember.
Well, see, that's my point. If you remember who did the closing, chances are there was a problem.
Oh, no, not with Greg.
The only reason, I was going to say the only reason I think I remember it was Chuck was because that was the moment. At that time, I was really into my facial hair and my mustache. And so we were talking mustache wax. And I believe that was where I fell in love with your facial hair.
I believe that of closing attorneys in Louisville, I am the expert on mustache wax.
If you want to see what Chuck looks like, go to LouisvilleAnswers.com, folks. It's a replay of our show on a video version. Also, a reminder as we wrap up that if you are thinking of selling, we have a free no obligation book that has hundreds of useful tips. If you want a copy, simply send me an email, bob@WeSellLouisville.com, and put selling tips in the subject line.